Hey everyone, welcome back to ZipDeal Conversations, where we get into the real tactics that help dealerships turn good transactions into long-term profit. This episode is called Profit Happens in the Process because if we're honest, most dealerships are leaking revenue they never even see. And the reality, well, it's customers don't always get the same experience. Steps get skipped all the time. Referrals never get asked for when they should. Accessories go unsold, first service appointments totally forgotten. And none of this is because your team doesn't care. It's because they're human, and humans are stretched thinner than ever. That's where ZipDeal steps in. Our guest today, well, you've seen her before. Marlo Mason is joining us once again, and we're diving into how automation ensures every customer gets a consistent, complete, and profitable experience, no matter who's on the floor or how busy the store is. If you've ever wondered how some dealerships seem to make it look easy, well, this conversation is going to help pull back the curtain a little bit. So let's get into it. Hi, Marlo. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks. Happy to be here.
It's always wonderful to see you. I'm going to say that we're going to start with, I don't know, just going to be a list of home runs for you. But it's first on my mind to ask, where do you see dealerships unintentionally leaving a lot of profit on the table today?
Absolutely. The key, I think, is, we only measure what's visible,
Mm.
and processes aren't typically visible. So the biggest revenue leak I see is not in missed opportunities, but opportunities that don't even get presented. So it's
Mm.
not that something got turned down, it was that the opportunity wasn't even shown to the client. And that's where ZipDeal comes in. We are that pre-delivery. So post-sale, yes, but before they go into the finance office, which is perfect because there's usually a little wait there. So we fill that with an automated, very consistent process that captures every profit opportunity. Consistency, makes it predictable, and predictable makes revenue happen. That's what ZipDeal's all about. Most dealers are losing profit they never see simply because they're never consistently presented by their team, even when they think they are.
Mm. I mean, that there is a little gap there for a lot of dealers, and that is a really perfect place for ZipDeal to make the difference. I mean, I love that. I think it occupies that space that dealers oftentimes think, like, maybe don't think that there's anything they can do there. So, love that. Let me ask you about staffing. It's always an issue. Dealers always have probably some current concern around that. But with staffing challenges being what they are, they're constant in automotive. Why do you think the consistency matters so much now, maybe more than ever?
Well, absolutely. The experience level, varying is going to make the client experience vary. And when that happens, you're relying on an individual salesperson's opinion of what that sale, that pre-delivery should look like. Accessories, referrals for service appointments, all those things you mentioned, they're not skipped because customers don't want them. They're skipped because customers weren't presented the opportunity. So that's the difference. Presenting those opportunities every time versus sometimes is literally tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Mm.
So process isn't overhead for the dealer, it's the profit strategy.
That's really smart. And I I think for every dealer that is paying attention to what ZipDeal is doing, those are the things I think that must make them say, "Oh, what? I don't want to miss out on something just because we're not consistently doing it." Where the profit loss stacks up really fast. It really does, just by being inconsistent. So let's move to this next question is around, like, there's a lot of stores, a lot of dealerships believe that they already have process, and this is not a new thing. They have felt like they've had processes around all kind of parts of the dealership. Their sales process is locked down, everything, and then the more you investigate, you find out, like, maybe not the case. So when you're talking about this, side of process that the dealers feel like they've got down? What's the difference between like having that process, maybe they do, but then actually executing on
Mhm.
that strategy?
Yeah. I would say a lot of dealers' processes are really suggestions. That's how the staff considers it, that
Hmm.
this is how they'd like it to be done, but they have their comfortable way of doing it. So you end up with a process that's clearly outlined, but ultimately incomplete delivery steps. Accessory conversations are not happening. Uh, Not scheduling for service appointments, F&I product presentations rushed, if at best. Referral capture completely forgotten. So without visibility and accountability, which ZipDeal gives because everything is trackable within our system, you can't really believe your process hasn't eroded. It has. So you've got to be able to see it, and that automation allows you to see it. So it's going to change that customer experience in a positive way that makes it again predictable, and every opportunity is presented. It lifts the performance of the entire team. I think that um, you know the goal isn't to create more work for the sales consultant. It's to actually alleviate it. So it's not training on one more system. It's actually this system is going to help solve all those gaps that you know are happening.
Mm-hmm. So, how does a customer, like their emotional state during this experience, like delivery experience, affect the decisions that are made in F&I?
Mhm. The cliche is happy customers spend more, but it's a true one. Uh, Customers make the best decisions when they're comfortable, and they're comfortable when the process is transparent, is, clear and calm. When they get anxious, because something's breaking in the process, something feels awkward, anxiety goes up, and then you hear more no's. So the experience of that customer should not depend on who greeted them that day. Um, when they enter that office informed and comfortable, acceptance rates for F&I products rise. We know it. That's not pressure, that's clarity, and clarity always wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. There are a lot of times when we talk about these things, I know that it resonates with dealers because it feels, as it should, very familiar that things like this are happening every day. And when I say things like this, I mean steps get skipped. Things that we've been mentioning so far in the conversation. The absence of being just consistent, which means steps are getting skipped, whether that's accessories or that first service appointment being scheduled. All of these things are, we've talked about them before. I always contextualize it even into my own life and my own vehicle and how many accessories I bought that the dealership could have sold me and all the labor that goes with it, and they didn't. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. First service appointment, obviously, for all dealers, are you trying to actually retain that business that you spent so much money to acquire in the first place? The referral asks, how does all this impact the dealership down the line when these steps are getting skipped?
Mhm. I mean, the impacts are very tangible if you have ZipDeal because you see the increases in all those areas. So highly tangible. If you don't have ZipDeal, um, I'd say the first service appointment is probably the most valuable moment that the dealer isn't controlling. If you don't schedule it before they leave, then you're just leaving the door wide open for them to go to a competitor or an independent. When you do schedule it, um, retention goes up, loyalty goes up, fixed ops revenue grows. So it's huge. Same with referrals. Dealers spend thousands of dollars every month to generate leads, but they ignore the customer right in front of them, that hopefully you've given that wonderful experience to, and that creates advocacy, and that advocate can give you a referral. Um, Cost you nothing. So ZipDeal handles that, and we know the closing rates are much higher, right, on referrals and accessories. I don't know, 400 plus per copy. Um, customers, like you said, care about customization. They care about peace of mind, good OEM fit. Um, when they're not being presented clearly, they can't buy them, right? So
Hmm.
we consistently, clearly present them, and then also in turn report to the dealer, okay, these are all of the accessories that your client selected. How many did you actually sell? So we even help them further in their process, to make sure, yeah, if there's maybe some other gap that needs corrected.
That's great. Can you, I mean, I'm guessing that you're like me and that you've bought a fair share of vehicles over the years.
Yeah, just a few.
Is there in your own personal experience, is there a time when you felt like a dealer got all this right? Like after you've kind of decided, yeah, I want to buy the car, and then that this wait time where you personally are like, man, they just nailed it.
I'd say absolutely never.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
I mean, even with a really great salesperson that you have a really good rapport with,
Hmm.
they have a lot of things going on too, work wise, personal wise. They're going to forget things. And you also are caught up in the buying moment. So you're not going to remember things that you were relying them on, to bring to you if they forget. So, yeah, no, I've never had that perfect sales experience.
I've only written a couple of really kind of positive, glowing reviews for dealers. Not because I'm trying to not reward dealers for good behavior or doing a good job, but it it was when they got close to that. When the after I said yes, I want to buy this. Um, as soon as this process that we're talking about started, it was better, but not near what we talk about when we're having these conversations. And so I was just curious to know if you've had one because I haven't had one that's like this was so amazing. Like when the salespeople are really great, it's usually worthy of mentioning, but there's still so much that can be done here. And as we talk through these things, to me, it's just such a no-brainer that ZipDeal just checks so many boxes that are relevant to what dealers are trying to figure out today. And next thing I want to ask you about is, we're in this, and I think we're going to be in it maybe forever until, you know, until none of us are here anymore. But the AI era, like, and there's a difference between, automation and systems that you can just run a lot of automation rules in and then true AI. There are places where both of those things coexist together. But I want to get your thoughts on how automation can help dealerships create this, what we're talking about, this absence of consistency, a more consistent experience without putting too much additional burden on the sales team.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Because consistency really is I think, the number one driver of not only profit, but customer satisfaction, loyalty, retention. Um, the goal of the automation is to create that consistency through an alignment with what the dealer wants. So ZipDeal also is very customizable and flexible. That's a big part of the AI in the automation is depending on what type of customer, what type of vehicle, what brand, is what is presented to the client. So it's very adaptive in that way. So it's kind of like cruise control for your revenue. Um, Removes the variability in the presentation, although it's flexible in that presentation. And it really does ensure that every profit opportunity is presented clearly, in a modern way and very customized for that dealer's objectives and their demographic, their brand.
Mm. Staying in that realm a little bit, sales managers in a dealership aren't able to be like everywhere at once, right? They're not like omnipotent. So, what role do you think this automation can play in scaling their ability to influence what's happening in the operation?
Yeah, I think a lot of sales managers um, believe that their teams are being consistent. We see about a 20 to 60% variance across salespeople. So good intentions don't scale. Automation ensures the best version of what you would like presented, and the performance of your sales consultant is consistent. So we remove the variability, and in turn, the profit happens. So sales managers can't be in every deal physically, but they can be by controlling what's in the zip deal and making sure that that zip deal gets presented to every single client. So it's really, I think, tremendous peace of mind for sales managers. They don't have to worry, at the end of the month when accessories are off or whatever. They're not going to see that anymore.
See, that's a powerful ad for like every dealer that they don't, because they, not in a bad way. You can be a total control freak and be a dominating personality that's difficult, to coexist with other people maybe that are maybe not quite the ferocious lion that you are. My point here, though, isn't that as much as it is dealers. Most of them are made comfortable by having control, where they feel like there is a sense of order in the business. And what you are just explaining here in those last couple of talking points gives the dealer, the zip deal provides another layer of control, guardrails. Those guardrails aren't just protecting them and ensuring profits and all of that. It's also making sure that the customer experience is literally the best that it possibly can be at the most important moments. Like they're driving away happy. And I love that. Every time we have these conversations, there's usually a few things that just kind of jump out to me that make me just think, if I'm a dealer, like that is so, I want that, I need that, that's really important. Great.
And that's how
Yeah, go ahead.
dealers scale, right? Is when they are growing their revenue, then they can grow their team, whether it's through additional tools or additional inventory, whatever, additional marketing funds. Um, so having that automation through ZipDeal and alleviating some of those pressures off of sales managers on the process control, it isn't about policing the team, it's about empowering the team.
Mm-hmm.
So it really lifts the entire dealership. Yeah. So it's control, but in I think, a very positive, growth oriented way.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is important. I mean, I look at the operation of the dealership and think, well, you need to have as many things in place, systems, processes, tools, technologies that make sure that you're not operating out of control, right? And there are a lot of those kind of open, sometimes really big open spots where it completely erodes your ability to have that control and order, like from chaos to clarity. It's more like from what should be clarity to kind of chaos. And I know that there are so many dealers that don't want to feel that anxious, like, I'm not certain. The uncertainty that comes from what inconsistency comes from, not sure. We have a process, but it's not being followed. Like there's so much in our industry, with a lot of processes that look similar. And as we talk about consistency, is there a competitive advantage out there for dealers that you kind of point them to?
I think process in itself is a competitive advantage.
Good point.
It can't be copied. It's your process, specific to you, to your team. You can buy leads, but you have to earn loyalty.
Mm,
And I think that that process is not only driving the profit, but it is taking average salespeople and making them good, and taking good salespeople and making them great. Again, that growth factor into it. So that's a competitive advantage. If you have salespeople and there's turnover, but these salespeople are empowered, they're growing, they're earning more, you're going to gain stability.
mm.
So that too is definitely a competitive edge. Is you know retaining your salespeople, because everything is running so smoothly, so efficiently. Their customers' time is being valued. Their CSI scores are good. We have retention from the first ops, the first service appointments being set. So I think that it all adds up to a competitive advantage.
Well, it is a competitive advantage if you're using tools that help not just retain customers, but retain that precious commodity of finding good salespeople. Like the talent inside of a business is so important, and it's easy to poach, right? And when you're doing things that not just insulate the customer experience, but make your salespeople, uh, their confidence soars, that's a really big, because that won't, in that world, in the dealership world, that won't just retain your employees. The ones that are actually looking, they're somewhere else, and they talk to their other friends who are other places. It'll make them want to, like, those type of things are actually differentiators and making people actually want to work in your organization because they find out about things like that. That's another little I didn't think about that
Mhm.
either, Marlo. You're just dropping all this great stuff once again.
Well, I
There's
can see it in the top performing dealers when they have new hires. We monitor the what we call engagement. So, how much is the sales consultant utilizing a zip deal? So, 10 customers, 10 zip deals. In my top performing dealers, I see it when they do have a new hire, they're not coming in at 20% engagement. They are right up there, 80, 90, 100%. Like it's that ingrained.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, when you start to do things like this, it has a cascading effects in a lot of different directions, and they're all great for a dealer. Like great for a dealer. Go to zipdeal.com right now and check it out. You gotta go. So, how do you think standardizing this experience of delivering the vehicle correlates to big topic CSI and really even online review performance for the dealer?
Mhm. Like we said, the consistent professional presentation process builds confidence with the client. And anxious clients say no, confident clients say yes. So you'll see better F&I penetration. You'll see better accessory sales simply because the customer was handled in such an elevated professional experience. It's tangible emotionally to them, and we said happy customers, spend more money. We know this for a fact. So when that happens, everything rises. Um, the CSI goes hand in hand with all those other things. So it's all the pathway on that pre-delivery, that delivery that ultimately leads to that survey score, that online review. And again, all very trackable and tangible through ZipDeal.
Mm. Okay, I'm gonna be the dealer who says, Marlo, I just don't need to add more steps to all the things we're doing. Like we just do, we have so many things going. I just don't need to add more to this. Is it really extra work that's being added? Like, what's your
Mhm.
perspective there?
Yeah, I'm gonna straight out call that a myth. It's a myth that it's more work. It's a myth that customers aren't really interested in those things, or we're getting to that. We're next month we're going to be. Those are all myths. And the reality is that inconsistency costs more time. So when accessories, questions, service expectations aren't handled, those concerns aren't addressed before they go into the finance office, um, or even worse, after the delivery, better orchestration actually saves time. It's 30 to 60 seconds that pays hundreds of dollars per deal.
Hmm. Okay, well, what about I'm the dealer who says I don't need some automation rules like running all this stuff. I just need my people to follow the damn process.
Mhm.
What if I'm that guy or gal?
Um, Yeah, so I think breaking where I would begin with that dealer is let's actually look at your process. If it's not written, if it's not clearly outlined, if it's not part of your onboarding, if you don't do ongoing training, they're not going to follow it because you don't really have one. So I think the first step I would do is actually back up a minute and say, all right, let's just look at what the process is. And I think even if they had it written down, they would see that it's outdated. Um, there's, some new OEM step. There's always an initiative that isn't interjected. And oh, yes, we do that too. Well, that's not in this process. So I think taking them back to basics and making sure there actually even is a process.
I think that's so true. And I think most men don't want to admit that we're just like, we don't want to follow we just want to do like we have to be really honest with ourselves too. And I think this is a good opportunity for me to tell the audience listening and or watching, you got to look in the mirror too. Like it's really important to be very honest with yourself when you're wanting to make some of these changes, or whether or not you need to make these changes, because it's too easy to hear people fall back into, we've been doing it this way for 30 years. It's like,
Mhm.
and we're still here. We're, like some days are good, some days are not as good. Some months are good, some months are not as good. It's a seasonal business. And we'll make excuses, right, for continuing to do things in a way that, okay, but we never did have a big breakthrough. We never really did. Like, is that okay? And maybe what we've settled for is mediocrity, or maybe what we've settled for is um, satisfactory, or maybe it's above satisfactory. But we're talking about things. Every time we talk about these things, we are helping dealerships understand that there is a really important part of your process in the transaction of selling vehicles that sets up so many other things in the operation of your business and profitability of your business, that is not only really affordable, but it is being proven by all the dealers that are putting it in that this was a smart step that should have been added a long time ago. So I guess that's just my way of, in this episode, trying to really encourage people that are consuming this content to realize that if you've just been doing it the same way all the time, some areas of your business you do want to cautiously approach when it comes to change. This isn't one of them. Like, let me, I wasn't going to ask you this question, but now I want to. Do you have any issue when a dealer's like, hey, let's just jump on and we want to onboard? Isn't it relatively quickly to have somebody all of a sudden, we're like, we're zip dealing the living daylights out of every deal? I mean, it happens really quick, right? This isn't like trying to change out your DMS or your CRM, right?
Yeah, no comparison. Yes. So content you can completely customize, or you can go with what we have out of the box. Start out with that very quickly, customize as you go. That's my job, is performance management, bringing best practices and opportunities to always tweak from the results where we can change the content. And like I said, there's always some new initiative they may need, or maybe something happened with CSI. We need to focus on that more. So very, very flexible. We can get you up and running super quickly. We integrate with your DMS, certain service schedulers for those first service appointments. Those can flow right in. That happens very quickly. We basically need a list of your personnel to get them set up. We send text notifications to the managers, to the sales consultants, F&I managers in real time. So give me a cell phone number, title, role. We're good to go. And the best part, I think, is training is a matter of about 20 minutes. Because
Mm.
of that DMS integration, we're going to teach you what link to go to. We're not even an app. As long as you can access it from your phone, you get to the internet, you put your URL in, and you're going to load a deal number, stock number, and we're going to populate everything for you. Hit a button, and the zip deal is sent to your client's cell phone. So yeah, very, very simple setup.
Yeah, sounds like it. Once you've got a dealer like fully implemented, how do you start to measure that success on the zip deal process?
Um, Fortunately, everything is very, very visible in what we do. So, back end gross coming to us from the DMS feed, we can actually show you these customers went through ZipDeal. This is the gross. These did not. This is the gross. Last month for September, it was over 500 per copy, better on those that went through.
Mm.
Reviews had a dealer sitting around 2.7 with Dealer Rater, and in 6 weeks is now at a 4.1. So very easy to see the movement. Same with, like I mentioned about the accessories. These are what was selected. Let's look at what you sold for service appointments, all tallied up. So yeah, very quantifiable.
Love that. So, last couple of questions that I have for you. One is, what's the best way for dealers, like that are listening to us have this conversation and say, well, I kind of need to be able to maybe audit, like, what's my current process? Is it helping? Is it hurting profit? Like, kind of where am I at? Is there, kind of a relative simple way for them that you would recommend? Like, hey, this is how you should evaluate what's working, what's not. Is it hurting profit? Like, where would you tell the dealer to go if they're kind of in that place?
Yeah, again, so what is the process? And then where are you at now? Benchmarks across your peers, and where do you want to be? And we do that from the time of launch. We set very clear expectations with our dealers. Okay, let's look at a couple of these areas that you are looking to improve with us, and what do you see success as? And so every performance review, we're going to look at where we started and where we moved to. And sometimes there will be further tweaks that are needed, but it's being clear, being very visible about it, just like what we're doing with presenting to every customer. We want to do the same thing with our dealers' expectations, and then following through and looking where we started and where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Okay, so if the listeners and or viewers, some of them just prefer to watch the videos, if they are going to remember one thing from this conversation, what is that? What do you want them to take away?
I would say that profit isn't random. It is clearly and proven to be tied to process. And that process is only good as the consistency of it. So to close the revenue leak that we talked about at the beginning, the best thing is to have a consistent process, which is the entire basis for ZipDeal. Is same experience every client, and it's elevated than what they were previously getting.
I love that. I love the theme, feels like, in this episode. At least one of them is the consistency is so critically important. And I feel like it's one of those things that many people in our industry feel like, we're pretty good at that, or they just don't even want to talk about it really, because I think everybody knows that it is tied to so many failures or opportunities to get better. Let's call it that. So, that's it for another wonderful ZipDeal conversation. Big thanks, Marlo. Always love talking to you about ZipDeal, and I appreciate you diving in. Consistency, it's not a buzzword. It came up a whole bunch in this episode, not surprised, but it's the secret to unlocking better margins. Like, you want more profit, you want to retain more customers, you want your reputation to improve, then you've got to figure that out. And you need tools and people who will help you. Not only will ZipDeal help you do that, Marlo herself can help you do that. If you're trying to figure out, well, do we really need this or not? I'm sure that Marlo would step through that conversation with you just to give you more clarity, and then you can make a decision from there. That's the kind of people they are, and that's why I love having these conversations and making content with them like this. If you're wondering how your dealership could level up without asking your team to do more, which is very important, the answer isn't harder work. It's, well, one, having a process, writing it down, and it being a smarter process. So we always tell you, head over to ZipDeal.com. You can check out their tools. You'll find out how you can start to put more ROI back into your business very quickly. You can build an example there now. You can book a demo there, of course. But one thing that's really been done with the new ZipDeal.com is you can consume a lot of information so that you're learning, and then when it's time, when you're like, I need more, and you're ready for that demo, you can do it right there, easy. You'll see exactly how it works in your world. I also want to always highly encourage people to get out to LinkedIn. Yes, follow ZipDeal's LinkedIn page. More importantly, follow Marlo Mason's LinkedIn page. She puts a lot of content out there that helps. You'll see even clips from these conversations on there. And that's a great place to engage. So could get connected with Marlo. She's a truth teller and an absolute person at the vanguard in automotive on all the things that you need to care about at your dealership. So to the audience, thanks again for listening. We'll see you again next time.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you so much.